meeting the day of my shoulder.
Your shoulder's different than your knee.
True.
Come on.
That's distance in the sling at least. And there's not 10 million treacherous ice spots.
Wait, it's let's just wait Actually, we can get going because Kyle, we just needed for the second sentence.
All right.
All right. Microphone. Okay. I would like to call this evening's meeting to order, March 8th. Approval of the agenda. Has everybody had a chance to look at last month's agenda? Our joint council meeting?
The agenda this month, or this week.
Minutes from the last meeting.
Oh, yeah, this is this week's agenda. Okay. We are switching business A and B around, is that correct, Maggie?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any other things that would, anybody'd like to add to the agenda for this week?
Nope.
Any other business?
No.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve this week's agenda?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right, now let's go over last month's minutes. Our joint session with the council. Reading through, I did not see anything that language seemed right. Points seemed to be okay. I don't know if anybody else saw anything of interest or concern.
Oh, not at this time.
Okay, I'll look for a motion.
Motion?
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. On to business.
All right. So, as we stated, we're pushing the Zion Lutheran expansion concept plan up to be first. So I don't think I need to go into all the details that this is John, the city planner's memo for the city council, or I believe this might have been the one for hey Kyle, for either the planning commissioner or city council. It includes more in-depth information that about future land use and more of the planning aspect of things. But just a little bit of a background, though. Zion Lutheran Church is looking to expand their buildings, expand their school, and then do some expansion with possibly a gym and a future church as well. And it's just south of City Hall on their property at 209 Blue Jay Avenue, and then also their 209 2nd Street Northwest property. So this did go to the Planning Commission for comment and review at their March 1st meeting. So a little bit, I'll show you kind of an aerial of their concept plan, just so we can go over it a little bit. The reason why I wanted the Park Commission to talk about it is because the concept would include purchasing part of our current parkland, and it does show the new church and part of the building being located there, and then it would also expand to some shared parking between their campus and the City Hall Community Center. So that's the concept. Again, I did provide the more detailed information about the process that they would have to go through is in the packet. That was for the Planning Commission to review, because the future timelines would actually go through the Planning Commission. But this is going to go in front of the City Council at March 14th, but I just felt that I wanted the Park Commission to kind of provide some comments and feedback, or have the ability to ask questions as well. So right now, and I do have Dave Wasser here with the committee, the building committee with Zion Lutheran, to answer any questions. So this right now, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's just a very preliminary concept. They are also, I'm going to bring up they own some land as well to the, oops, sorry, I can't spell. Kind of to the southeast of town, which I'll bring up quickly, that they purchased in the past, which was kind of, I think the idea was to do a full expansion out there, right here, right?
Is that the farmstead that
Yep.
Jobs place? Over, okay, yep.
And so the concerns here are like the timing, because again, when we usually do annexations and project planning, it's kind of done in phases to support, like based on our infrastructure, so including water and sewer. And the concern right now is how we would get water and sewer to this site for them. But Dave, if you want to come up and talk more about it.
Would you mind putting that first slide up?
Oh, yeah. This one?
Yep, perfect.
I'm going to rotate it, actually. Or maybe not. I'm going to just do north to south. Make it easier for everyone.
All right. So this is just a very vague drawing, kind of a what would fit. Right now, we're kind of in talks with the architect. And some new drawings that we've had, we would have like a school addition here, parking here. The bus drop-off would be shrunk because we really don't need the bus parking as you see here. We have maybe 3 buses that come through and minimal students. Our main concern with the safety of that is the parents pick up and drop off, having that ability, which they would have some here and also here. We are basically looking, well, the reason why we're doing all this, the last 5 years we probably denied, I believe it was 65 students to go into the school just because we don't have the classroom space. Right now we're sharing 3rd and 4th, 5th and 6th, 7th and 8th in the same classrooms. So ideally we want single grade classrooms. Right over here we have the old schoolhouse, which is being used, and then we have new classrooms here, which that addition was, I think it was about 7 or 8 years ago, if I remember right. Anyways, so that's the reason why, is our main concern is to get more classrooms. We're also outgrowing our church, which is down here. Christmas services, we have to do about 3. Easter, we're doing all sorts of services for that. It'd be nice to consolidate. Right now, our church, I believe, holds 200 people. New church, we're looking for around 350. And again, with budgeting, this would all be in phases. So we came up with this idea. We thought with the parking lot, I mean, we've all been to festivities here and how bad parking is, right? So you're parking down the street, there's the one in, one way out. We had an idea of, well, what if we purchased this, where the ballpark is, which is approximately, I think it was 1.16 acres, I think I was told. Made it some type of a shared parking. Now, I know there's issues with that, who takes care of what. Obviously, everything is up for discussion. We would figure we would own our property, we would take care of it. If the community center had an event, feel free to use the parking. Obviously, every Sunday morning we would need parking. And that was just kind of an idea we had, hey, maybe this would be great. So we're just basically right now looking to see if this is an option. Would we be able to, or be allowed to purchase that property for this intent? Looking for suggestions, what you think of the design, and yeah, just thoughts on that. And it's also been brought up, we do have the 20 acres on 30 like you saw. Would the city want to do some kind of a land swap and have that out there and turn that into city park or whatever it may be? Everything's up for negotiation right now and just talking to see what our options are. If we're not able to purchase this, then we're gonna look more into that 20 acres, possibly selling it, talking to whoever, and just, we're really in a early stage of all this right now, so nothing is set in stone as you see here, but
What are
Yeah.
you guys thinking for recess and playground area?
that was brought up too. With this layout, there is not much green space, right? So we're thinking we narrow down that bus drop off. We still have the church where it is. The gym is not there. That's,
Future?
yes.
That's, you're worried about the classrooms right now.
Right
Get
now,
that
we're
up
worried
and-
about classrooms, and then we're worried about church.
Yep.
A gym, if that happened to work out and get approved, that would be phenomenal, but
Yeah.
that's budget, right?
So playground would be in the gym area right now.
Right,
Recess time.
exactly. And
More or less where it's at now, correct?
yeah, because it's kind of hidden, but you can see it's like right in here.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. There's our little playground there,
Right.
but, I mean, green space is an issue, and we do need it. The thought was, if we did fill it up, that we would work with Mayor Lutheran, and they would possibly transport students over there for some type of activities. Again, that's just all
Good.
talk right now.
How
Yeah.
long do you anticipate this model lasting for you? Until you outgrow this? Because this is like about 4 acres, and then you've got, what, 20 out?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. This model, I would say, the only thing that we'd really be keeping as of now, if this got all approved, is your shared parking and your church. In fact, I'll see if I have the new drawings with. I honestly would see the school addition either going here or right in here. I'm thinking right here would be our better location.
I would say too.
Sort
So you could go 2 levels there at least.
We could, yep.
Right.
So we got our school addition here, you take that away, and we'd have our church come somehow off in here, and then probably more parking here in this space, or possibly this is all parking, and then we stop and have green space to that.
You could almost.
And if you
keep your
did all
green-
this, you would stay long-term
Yeah,
then?
yeah,
Yeah,
that would be our goal.
yeah.
If we did all this, our goal would be to probably sell that 20 acres when we could.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you could almost keep your green space where it is if you would possibly do the classroom extension on the south side.
Right, and then there is also talk
That'd save you money too.
of our gym that we have. It isn't regulation size, and that's why the concern with it.
Correct.
And the gym that we have in this drawing is like a gym where you have 2 full courts and one.
You could have tournaments and.
Exactly. That was the thoughts. Now, do we have to go that big? Probably not.
Yeah, but it
No.
generates
nice.
revenue.
Yes.
Right. You're
And dream big,
Right.
cut back, right?
Exactly.
And it brings people to town too, so I mean.
Right.
Lutheran High is, every weekend it's full up there, so
Yeah.
I mean, there's always people.
And I
Helps
don't-
the-
And I think that's something too we could work with if we did have a gym of that size, and then also worked with the field house at LHS. Now you're looking at even bigger tournaments.
Right, they
Possibly
could
state tournaments.
expand larger tournaments as far as basketball or volleyball or whatever.
Yep.
And I
So events like Mayor Rising, would you allow them to use your parking?
I can't say yes or no on that,
Yeah.
but I would be about 100% confident that we would
Yeah.
allow that, yeah.
Those would be.
I mean,
my
we've been
only
working
concerns.
Yeah.
together with
And then
that.
just losing the green.
I mean, losing that ball field, I mean,
Do you think?
a lot of people play on it, but we do have other options in town.
And those 2 other ball fields down the road, actually.
Right.
Maggie, if this were to sell, does that money go into our capital fund?
I don't know. I mean, it,
I mean, if we wanted to buy land, it comes out of it, right?
Because it is parkland.
So,
well, that's the thing that's
Turned it
tricky.
into a
Like,
splash pad.
it's
Yeah.
kind of like it's city land in entire, like, in general. So it's again, like, if the fire department's like, if we sold the fire building, where does that money go? Over the years, if you think about it, the city's the one that's been supporting the fire department through its tax dollars. So it's kind of one of those decisions that you have to have a discussion with the city council how they want to appropriate that money and where it would go. And for me, I like to look at the big picture of all the departments and the needs of all the departments when I'm considering that. But that would be a future discussion as well. I couldn't answer that right now.
So then what's being passed around right now are kind of the four options we've been thrown at us as of late. The first option actually will show the shared parking. The rest of them are kind of, if we couldn't get the ball field, and building out there just would be too costly.
And the thing is, we wouldn't have to, I mean, if you're doing it in phases, we wouldn't, see that disappear necessarily for 5-10 years.
And everything is based on our budgeting.
Right.
I mean, that first phase, if we did 8 to 10 classrooms, which would be our goal, I mean, we're probably talking, that's over $1 million right there,
Oh, yeah,
and
I believe that.
we wouldn't start phase 2 until that's paid off.
Yep.
And then so
What's the thought of when that would be paid off then?
That's a good question. That I can't answer just because I don't know what people would dedicate to it.
I was gonna say.
We do have a committee, capital gains type of, not capital gains, but a capital plan committee.
Yep.
Not to mention, if the Vinkemeyer farm ever gets developed, your 20 acres is gonna change in value as well, I would think.
Yep. That were, one's the proposed of that maybe getting developed so that there is maybe a land swap, whatever, so that park commission could do a park for that area. I mean, but, it's beneficial to both parties, but our long game for the city would be to do it now,
Right.
because the price of it would be more expensive down the road if that was a decision.
There been any more talks on the
And
Vinkemeyer?
then I know a suggestion too,
Can
like,
talk to you about it after.
I don't know if this really shows, I think this is the road.
Yep,
Fourth Street,
I
yeah.
believe so.
Yep.
There's talk of possibly continuation of either a driveway this way, just to kind of give it a divide. So there's definitely a lot to work with.
More of just a central column,
Yeah,
kind
just
of dividing, yep.
Or even a
Just
trail.
little-
I know putting in this sidewalk, I think, would be a big deal too, because this would also allow for people to park and safely get off.
Yep.
It's kinda gonna
Well,
help,
yeah, because right now the sidewalk just kind of ends.
it's kinda gonna help us out too, isn't it? With our future plans for old schoolhouse.
Well, that's kind of what I was thinking. I mean, to Dave's point, parking is something that is
An issue.
it's horrendous around anywhere in Mayor. So any chance we can get to get more parking is something I don't shy away from. Is it some green space? Yeah, but at the same time, are we?
That's,
The city's not getting any smaller.
I was speaking with Dave a little bit prior to the meeting, and is there any way to talk to even the county to widen Blue Jay to, even if it was angled parking along the water treatment facility would give a heck of a lot more.
I don't think we can do that with the setup at the water treatment plant. We don't have any free space along that park.
I wasn't sure, something I just was asking.
To where it could be widened on Blue Jay to possibly put parking lots there?
Yeah.
Along Blue Jay.
Right.
By the water treatment.
Because that would also alleviate, we can,
Definitely where their drop-off is, all the way up to City Hall, we have parking all the way along that.
Do you
On
think,
this side, he's talking the other side.
No, I'm not talking.
No,
Okay.
yeah, the other side, we wouldn't have any room.
because I was saying that would help the entire city too, just to have more parking.
Right.
do you think maybe instead of the county having to purchase right of way, they could just narrow the road and make like the drive lanes, keep the drive lanes the same, but the right of way narrow it down for parking? Right. Yeah.
Won't be as many shared your stalls is what that big parking lot is. But you told them about the well
Yeah,
Water
so there's a well, if you
right
look.
under the new church.
There'd be-
Right, that's what I was kind of looking, that was another question I had, but I know that's not really ours.
Talk of either, one, moving it, which I know would be costly, or two, just keeping, it'd be in the plan, having an easement.
Just slide it.
Yeah, right here, there's a line.
Right, yep. Yeah, so I don't, now what can you have over an easement? Can you have a parking lot?
Yes, I believe you can.
Write that up and patch it, right?
Yep, I believe you can.
So that would probably be, what really would be happening is parking lot probably here to here, church here, and then our drop-off point there. Would probably be the most logical, but again, everything that you've seen there was just been thrown at us. We don't have a decision on it.
And there again, I mean, parking for the church right now is horrendous. I know Sunday mornings I come through here and it's like, holy moly, they're parked any which way you can think, right?
And then there was even talk too, if you don't mind putting the, that first, that showed our layout.
Oh, yeah.
There was even talk too, is if we left this space for gym, and then we demo the church, because the gym would be the last phase. Now you've got parking here, and the gym would hopefully fit right in here. We're still looking at that, but I think that would be ideal for events, because you've got a lot more parking for that.
And I know we have no control.
We could do something like this with the church next to it.
Right. I know we have no control over that, but to see that church go would be kind of a bummer.
Oh, believe me,
It's a mayor landmark.
That's what I mean. It's kind of, would be kind of a,
it's a 50-50,
Right?
in our church right now, so
okay, I get it.
you're not the only one.
I think it would be great to I mean, we work with the church now as far as park area there, as far as the ball field and stuff go, you know, because to play a ball game or whatever, we are crossing over into the school area, right? But I think that's worked great for many years. I think this is a great proposal. Like I say, with the parking issues that we have, I guess I would be willing to give up some park area to increase parking. And I mean, it's still a goal that if we were to be able to get a grandstand or something down here and get baseball back, we're gonna need parking anyway,
Well, I just think of even.
right?
Even the car show, you're not gonna have to deal with the mud.
Right.
Or if it rains, or any of that. I mean,
Absolutely.
that's gonna be sweet for everybody.
Absolutely. And then I think in joint with that, I think it would be great to come to an agreement or some kind of thing to allow the school to have access for that, for recess, for, you know, general use of the park. I mean, I know they use the park now, but I think that them exploring the park and having more options, not feeling tied to their tight space.
I think, would there be liability with that, Maggie?
No, it's a public.
It's a public park.
I don't
the
think
school?
I don't think any more than normal liability.
No.
But
I think, from what I understand, it'd almost be where the school would have to have their own for the kids, because it'd be like going on a field trip.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't think it affects the city as much
yeah,
as it
as
would.
you.
The school.
The school brought the kids to the city park, and they have to.
And like I said, that maybe could be where the city and school can work out some kind of an agreement, you know, and I think if it's in writing, I think it bonds that a little different. I don't know for sure, I'm not an attorney or nothing, but, you know, I'm in favor of it. I don't know how anybody else. Obviously, the planning commission has looked at it and they kind of agree with the idea. You know, and like I said, if we're hoping to expand and move our ball fields and whatnot, I
Right. And the great part is, you know, we're gonna have time too. This
Right, it isn't happening tomorrow.
overnight. There's gonna be changes, there's gonna be different ideas, there's gonna be,
And I know there was some concern with one of the members on the planning and zoning about how it's gonna look, this and that, and I'm like, it's still gotta get approved by the city.
right.
If it doesn't look right for whatever reason, we'll
I'd-
go back to the drawing board.
I'd assume you'd use the same block and everything and add on to the school and just like
Guess that's
everything
the
else.
least of my concerns.
Oh, no kidding. I mean, you have a 100-year-old school attached to a 70-year-old school attached to a 8-year-old school. I mean, you're never gonna find,
Yeah, this is the time to clean it up.
I mean, I'd be in favor of it, but I would like to ask that park get some of the capital fund from it.
Right. I mean, that's something, again, that we can discuss.
I mean, we just talked at our last meeting that we didn't want to give up that ball field,
Right.
and now.
Because it is being, because it is utilized and it is used
Yep.
space.
Right. I think the question would be if that space was removed, where would we replace it? Like what?
Right.
And
So the
you would almost have to put,
west side of town, on the other side of Coldwater, I mean, they've been talking, they want something, right?
yeah, and I've talked to. That's a little bit of a tricky situation too, because the history is that the Coldwater Crossing development 20 years ago signed an agreement with the developer saying that their land was old school or their park was old school house, and so they don't need to meet those requirements anymore. But we have talked to the landowner, and when there is kind of a handshake agreement / discussion that when it does develop, maybe there would be a consideration that land would be dedicated. We also, the developments for Coldwater Crossing have gone through a planned unit development process, which means the city, even though the developer doesn't need to provide parkland, by us doing a planned unit development, they usually ask for smaller lot sizes and kind of to kind of get more lots for their property, and it's just better for them. And through that process, we're able to then also say, well, request land for parkland. So there's ways that we've been exploring future options because we know that that's a need and a want. It's just kind of when it'll happen because we don't own any land out there, and when is the opportunity right that we can actually ask for it. So it's just kind of, again, unfortunately a timing thing. But yeah, and so I think that's a discussion for the future, what we would do to replace that. I need to do research. I would hope that any land for a sale, any money that we got for a sale would go towards the park commission because it is parkland. And I could see myself recommending that to the city council. I just can't really predict where that money will go
allocation.
until we have that more of a timeline and a way of researching it more, because I honestly haven't been through a land sale in my career, so I need to be able to research it and understand it more. So but I would be confident in saying, because it is parkland, that the park commission would get something, as because we do want to be able to replace that property for additional parkland. Yeah. So.
And if it does get approved at council, what's the timeline look like for the purchase of it?
This is very preliminary. So this is just very concept. So it's going to go to council on the 14th, just as a concept.
Oh, okay.
So it's just kind of like, are they willing to consider this as an option that the school can continue exploring? So
Nothing they're voting on.
no.
So we have that, and then if they did say, yeah, we would be willing to sell it, our next step is soil testing to make sure we can build on it, right? If it's buildable, then we would go to discussion again. What are we willing to pay? Are we doing a land swap? Values of each properties and so forth.
Yeah, then it's, Okay.
Other than that, yeah, I mean, any suggestions are appreciated. I know Maggie's got my info if you ever needed to send something out, so.
Looks good, Dave.
I like the idea. I,
Great, thanks for your time.
Yep.
awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, thank you.
Have a good night, Dave.
There's a thorn in it.
On to business A/B.
All right. So, as you know, at the last meeting, we had a joint meeting with the council, and we talked about the pavilion a little bit more. Just sharing the concept with the city council and the long-term goals of the kind of getting this project out for bid and asking them for comments. So there was a lot of back and forth, and they provided some valid points, concerns about cost and kind of wanted us to look further into different, maybe some alternatives. So I think ultimately at the end of that meeting, there was a consensus that Kyle and I could reach out to the architect and kind of put together or talk with the architect about what we thought would maybe, one, lower the cost, but meet the needs of that site in the long term. And so so we did meet with the architect, and this is kind of the concept that we came up with, keeping in mind that our goal when we designed this, I mean, me and Kyle, and I'm not speaking for Kyle, but I think that this is a good solution for to get this project moving forward. It does lower what we think the bidding will come in at about 100 to 125,000. I think keeping in mind the main goals for this pavilion is plumbed bathrooms and community gathering space. So what we did, and Kyle was kind enough to, and he can probably explain it better than me. He also has an awesome visual in the gym that we're going to go look at to kind of give us a more visual idea of how large this is. But I'll start quick and then Kyle can go more in depth. But I think what we were looking at is, one, lowering the costs, but also keeping in mind the goal and the vision for this site, being, one, eventually having a splash pad, two, having community spaces and gathering spaces, which this one now has two, so we have counters on both sides of the bathrooms. And I believe it still fits the same amount of tables as the last one. And then it has the water fountains on the back. But I'm going to let Kyle go into this more because he understands this a little bit more than me.
A couple of questions that I know the council had asked prior. Do we know if 3 bathrooms is adequate for what we're looking at for a splash pad? Did we get any information on that?
When we talked to the architect, Kyle, I remember him saying that he has done work with splash pads before, and he felt like 3 was adequate.
Yep, and I know he said too, having them private restrooms like they are, it's easier for families to go in, change kids, and deal with their kids and all that.
Right.
And he made it seem, I guess I don't know if we asked the splash pad company at all about it.
I reached out to them. I have not gotten a response on that question yet, but I will. I have a meeting with him on kind of some timelines, anyways, at the end of this week, so I can ask him more about that question. But as far as I know, and as far as the discussions we've had, 3 seems like it would be sufficient.
Okay.
Especially with, we do have, I think our goal was still to have some porta potties still throughout Old Schoolhouse Park anyways.
Yeah, I think you still have to have more. Just that local central area around the splash pad or whatever, if it's adequate between the playground and the splash pad.
Yeah, yep.
And I would assume so, because right now we get what, one or two?
I think we get
Portable-
one
portable
that's
bathroom?
by
One in
the
each park.
playground, yeah.
Yeah.
And if we have
So,
events, we'll do
I think this would be, okay.
But we'll confirm that. But yeah, I think the long-term goal would be to have these 3 bathrooms, and then also again some other porta potties. But yes,
Okay,
we will continue to research that.
I think that was my main question, and then, is this design still something that we could look at expanding in the future if it does come down to that?
Yeah, I would say so.
Right, I just remember these were some of the things that were brought up at the meeting the other night, and I just want to clarify some of that, just so that
Right.
everybody,
On the same page.
can look at it and feel comfortable with this. Okay, Kyle, take it away.
So, let's see, I started here in 2013, and we've been talking about bathrooms in that dang park ever since then, and I know the previous administrator was talking about them years on end before. So, sitting back in the audience, listening to everything, it all comes down to money, and that's pretty much what, drives everything. I don't want to see this project crash and burn again. I want to make sure it gets through, and I'm trying to do everything in my power to make sure it goes through. Even though it creates a heck of a lot of public restrooms to a public works guy, jeez,
We like you, Kyle.
Yep, so lucky. I'll delegate it to Brian, so. But,
That's on record.
So just talking, getting feedback from everybody at the last meeting and everything. Size, trying to keep it the same size, trying to keep it a big gathering point for the park, central gathering point for the park. The bathrooms, people like them, people want them, but the overall price tag, of course, and kind of also the thought. All the bathrooms are on the north end, and actually that north is on the wrong side. So imagine this is actually facing, the drinking fountains are facing the ball field. So you got one end facing the splash pad, because the splash pad currently is going to be positioned on the north end, and then the playground equipment is on the south end. And then the picnic tables in front here and the doors to the restrooms are currently facing City Hall parking lot. So then, security reasons, you see everything, it'll be lit up at night, cops driving up and down the road can see it, no riffraff is going on behind it, which there could be, but there's only one door, who cares, Yeah, everything, got 2 nice counter spaces, about 12 feet, if not longer, 12 feet long. Mechanical room in back, got rid of the concession stand, because we do technically have a concession stand down the hill. Same size bathrooms, everything else. And then structure-wise, Maggie, is it up or down for this structure?
Is it-
Right there. So instead of, we had the gable ends, or the hip roof on the other
We had
one.
an actual roof,
So what,
peak roof.
talking with the architect and everything, everything's gone up in price except mortar and concrete and brickwork. It's kind of course, it's fluctuated, it's gone up, but not to drastic levels. Like trusses, this has no trusses. It's just longer, it's I-beams all the way down the middle, and it's tapered to the back. It'll be a flat roof with a rubber membrane, is what he's recommending. Lasts forever, durable. It's cheaper than shingles, steel, all that fun stuff. The brickwork or the blocking, we can still make it fancy blocking to match our other structures and stuff in the park. We could do steel beams, we could do wood beams. It's all in play. But yeah, it kind of, I feel like the picture's a little misleading. We can definitely walk down to the gym, because Brian and I got it all laid out with tables and everything set up. And honestly, you're going to walk in there and be like, holy cow, this thing's huge. So,
Oh, you're right. I mean,
You know,
I'm looking
it-
at the
It's
plan
more.
here going, yeah.
It's more tables. This is 16 and the other one's only 12.
Yeah.
And they're all right next to each other.
Right.
Right. And so it's kind of a nice, you get to still enjoy kind of the whole park. It wraps around so you can see the ball fields from one end, you can see the splash pad, you can see,
And
because before the splash
Yes.
pad was blocked.
separation.
Yeah.
Right.
You can have two
I
events.
know, in speaking with a couple of the council members, that is something that was brought to my attention, is that there was no separation before. If more than one group wanted to use it, who has precedence, who has
Right.
the right? This gives options of two sides. It kind of, yeah.
Yep.
Would you be able to put like standing areas around like the posts? You know what I'm saying? That, they don't have to be huge, but
Like a bar.
yeah, almost like mini,
Just a
right, so people can stand there and talk. Some people like to stand
Right.
there and talk, or they're
That-
watching the ball game in the distance and they're just glancing at their kid talking to somebody. You know, I wouldn't think they'd be that expensive to,
Easy to add.
or easy to add after.
Yep. And even like a sidewalk, I mean, we could still add sidewalk around the edge. You can even have a couple kind of outside a little bit. And I'm sure they make a
I
picnic
think
table
one
bar.
thing.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah. they-
We could do all kinds of stuff. We could put them teepee things off the top if we needed more room.
Right.
You know, eventually.
And then it kind of drove this too, is I know a comment was made about having shade for the splash pad, you know, parents walking.
Yeah,
their kids
so
on the
we'll
splash
have
pad,
like
so they could sit in
those
there.
leaf.
Granted, we'll probably still have a couple shaded seating areas.
But also
not very
for
big.
the playground, I mean, right now, there's nothing for the playground.
Nope.
I have to be honest, this is not something, I guess, I had really put into mind. I always envisioned the bathrooms off on one side.
Right.
And it's still doable.
Right. I like this concept because it gives you a little bit more separation. I like the design. To me, it looks a little more modern. It's not so traditional.
Gives you more options.
I believe so.
And I think it has a better chance of passing city council than.
So, yeah, he quoted the price tag at $275,000 to $300,000.
Oh, really? That's not
which
bad.
which is like 100 to 125 cheaper than we think the other one will
I
come in
think
at.
it'd be much better luck.
We
Yeah,
can
guesstimate.
And we can accessorize.
Ryan, what's your concerns?
I
What
don't
do you
care-
see?
I don't care for the picnic tables in front of the bathrooms.
Oh, I can agree with that.
I
I
don't want to
can-
be eating my sandwich and a door opens and you get
A
a
whiff
wow.
of,
There's actually quite a bit of space there.
Yeah, I'd be
if
interested in seeing
anything-
what Kyle's laid out.
Well, you don't want to build a wall there, but maybe, you know, just a
you could put a small partition or,
small partition
Yeah.
5 feet away from the front of the doors, you know, five
Yeah,
and a half
that was
feet down.
actually, because, yeah, you could actually even, if someone walked open the door, I mean, it's, there you are, you know?
Yeah.
So even having like a screen kind of in front of it.
Right.
You know?
Well, you
in
gotta
a
be
way.
handicap accessible too,
Right.
so,
Yeah.
yeah. But I mean, if you were 5 feet out enough and did a wall up and that's it, and you could then actually put another table or,
There,
another
another counter space.
another counter space on the other side of that.
Whiff while you're grabbing your food.
right.
Well, I mean, it's.
No.
There's
I get
actually-
it, Yeah.
There's a good amount, I mean, it's a good 8 feet away from those picnic tables, those doors.
Is
So,
it?
I mean,
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good amount of space, but,
Well, why don't we grab our plans and our designs, and Kyle, if you don't mind
Yeah.
taking us down there, let's take a look and see what we got. and-
it's outdoors too. I couldn't believe you were plowing.
Maggie, you gonna take oh, I'm sorry, Chad.
No, you're good, huh?
Oh, that was fine.
Did you see me hook that curve, Chad?
What's that?
Did you see me hook that curve?
Oh, yeah.
Did you see me?
I was like, hey, you turned sideways.
Yeah, it was instant.